Hi, I'm Mark Anthony, and I want to be your LSAT coach. And the reason why is quite simple. I love this exam. I love helping students unpack this exam and kick ass on this exam. I enjoy seeing them unpack the different questions in the LR section, even in reading comp, right? That beast of a section. I really enjoy seeing students understand and check out their own assumptions. I enjoy them looking at arguments and saying, that's a good argument, or that's not. This is airtight and this is flawed. I enjoy seeing students unpack that for themselves, learn that themselves, develop deeper critical reasoning skills so that they just become better thinkers. I just really enjoy that. And then also, I'm going to make an excellent LSAT coach for you because I've got the materials ready for our sessions. I'm going to show you in just a moment, but I'll bring the questions, I'll bring the drills, I'll bring the knowledge. What I want you to do is make sure that you practice that homework, practice what I assign from one session to the next. So let's go look at an example. I'm a very real live session coach. I'm going to want to see you do questions live. I'm going to draw. I'm going to want to make sure that you're able to, right, follow along. That's a terrible mustache. I'm going to want to make sure that you're able to follow along because these sessions will be live, right? I'm going to be paying attention to what are your needs? How do I tailor this to how you understand it, right? I might have done well on the LSAT, but I want to make sure that I help you unpack this exam as well. I'll have the different materials. We'll work through drills. Okay. We'll work on understanding arguments, the different pieces of arguments. We'll work on flaw questions, understanding how various flaws might show up in an actual argument. Or we'll look at assumptions and jumps. Okay. I've got the materials ready. What you need to bring is your brain and your ass in the seat ready to learn. Okay, so let's take a look at a little bit about my style. I'll have questions. I'll want to see you do it live, but oftentimes I will demonstrate how to do questions. Let's go walk through one of them. Here we have a must be true question. Not all of them, but a good chunk of the LSAT is going to measure your ability to understand conditional reasoning, which is just like an if-then statement that helps us make deductions, right? So let's take this one. It's pretty simple. If they take the train to Tokyo, Sam and Jordan will join friends for a New Year's celebration. So that's kind of easy to diagram. If they take the train to Tokyo, they will join friends for New Year's. Awesome. Sam will most certainly propose to Jordan if I see another if they join their friends for New Year's. So if they join their friends for New Year's, Sam will propose to Jordan. Great. Awesome. So I've got a chain here that I can use to make a deduction. If they take the train to Tokyo, Sam's going to propose to Jordan. Cool. Do I know what happens if they don't take the train to Tokyo? Will they not? Will Sam not propose to Jordan? No, that's flawed reasoning. Let's look at an example. If I say, if you get an A, your parents tell you, hey, look, if you get an A, then we'll take you to Chuck E. Cheese. Did they technically tell you what happens if you don't get an A? Are you going to say that you don't go to Chuck E. Cheese? No, that's a flaw, right? Maybe you're spoiled. Maybe they're terrible parents, right? And so they're like, hey, if you get a B, if you get a C, if you get a D. So it's actually A wasn't necessary. You didn't need the A. So that's flawed. You can't just negate your argument. We'll unpack sufficient and necessary conditions more, especially if you decide to move on with me. But long story short, we use our chain and we don't really manipulate with our chain. We can contrapose our chain. Again, we'll unpack that a little bit later, but let's use our chain to go see what our answers are. If Sam proposes to Jordan, this is answer choice A. If Sam proposes to Jordan, then they took the train to Tokyo. So Sam proposed to Jordan, then they took the train to Tokyo right off the bat. What you should be able to see is no, that goes backwards. This is not our answer. Mark it off. You can't go against your arrows. Next. Unless they join their friends for New Year's, Sam will not propose to Jordan. So if they don't join their friends, Sam will not propose to Jordan. Wait a tick. Do they have to join their friends for Sam to propose? No, I know if they do join the friends that Sam will propose, but do they have to? No, this is just negating. That is also a flaw. Answer choice C, they will take the train to Tokyo only if Sam proposes to Jordan. That sounds weird, but what it's basically saying is take the train to Tokyo only if something needs to happen, Sam proposes to Jordan. And that does match our diagram. We can circle that and move on. This is my style. I will do it live. Better yet, I will want to see you do it live. And I will want to see you explain your answer choices. And I will want to see you justify what you're selecting. Okay, let's jump into one or two more. I will have drills for us to work through. I will have arguments for us to highlight. Let's do that now. Here's an argument. There are different parts of arguments: conclusions, subsidiary conclusions, premises. There's the opposing point of view, etc. But let's read this argument and color its different parts. Critics have called for the prohibition of Sochi's children under a revolutionary sun. Sounds awesome. On the grounds that its depiction of coup d'etat is too gory. At first read, it sounds like this is all one part, but actually this is two part. And the reason why I know that is because they're providing us evidence on the grounds that its depiction of coup d'etat is too gory. So actually we have an opposing point of view where they're telling us their argument. The yellow supports the blue, but that's the opposing point of view. Let's keep reading. Indeed, Sochi's work illustrates a future that is full of violence and bloodshed, and yet still, that does feel like a different color. Sochi's work illustrates a future that is full of violence and bloodshed, and yet still, it was not long ago that our own country came into existence after centuries of the same. It sounds like that's about to be a premise that's going to go on to support something. It sounds like they said, hey, look, I want to admit something, but I'm going to draw a conclusion later. Thus, perfect, I called it. that we should reject any outright prohibition of children under a revolutionary sun. So that's our conclusion. That's what that's what the author is trying to conclude. And their evidence was the green. That was a premise. Okay. So then we've got the opposing point of view right up here where they're giving us the opposing premise, the opposing conclusion. So what's the pink? What would you call the pink? The pink is a concession. Remember, the folks who wrote the LSAT, a lot of them are nerds, right? Debate nerds. And so they love to like concede when an argument on the other side is good. And so you'll see that all the time on the LSAT. The pink, Sochi's work illustrates a future that is full of bloodshed, full of violence. That is us conceding something to the critics. Even though we can see that, though, they are still wrong. That's why we draw our conclusion, right? So we work through diagrams. We will work through different argument parts. We will look at flaws to say, hey, I'm going to read this argument. Which flaw doesn't have to come from this list. It's not an exhaustive list, but what flaw is happening here? And that's going to help us also track assumptions. Let's do one more. Okay. So all those trained by a Jedi Master are guardians of peace. Jedi Master, arrow guardian of peace. Okay. If you use the dark side, you're not a guardian peace. If I can contrapose that, that means if you're a guardian peace, you don't use the dark side. We'll talk about contrapositives, especially if we continue to move forward together. So we have a chain here. And then they say this. So all those trained by Jedi Masters are not a threat. If you're trained by a Jedi Master, I just added the TM. I forgot to add it before. If you're trained by a Jedi Master, then you're not a threat. That sounds like a jump. I don't know that. What I know is that if you're trained by a Jedi Master, then you're a guardian of peace. And if you're guardian of peace, then you don't use the dark side. Are they assuming that if you don't use the dark side, then you are not a threat? Ah, yes. If I add that relationship, I can guarantee this conclusion. This is a sufficient assumption. Okay. So we will unpack that as well. And I've got drills for us to work on together and also for you to work on at home. Let me go ahead and show you an example of what I mean. Here is something that I'm going to share with students. I will want you to practice arguments and drills on your own, right? Outside of our sessions, and come back to me with the questions that you have. So you can see we've got the same argument here, and then we've got the chain. If you're trained by a Jedi Master, then you're a guardian peace, then you don't use the dark side. We can see the missing link, then you're not a threat. And we can contrapose that to find out what else is true. It's the same statement, just in contrapositive terms. Okay. And there are others for you to be able to work on. Okay. Those tools are readily available for you to utilize if you become one of my students. And I would be happy to have a conversation with you on the ways that I can help you reach your goals. A lot of students underestimate the amount of time that they need in order to get the score that they want, but I'm here to help you do the work, understand the LSAT better, kick ass on this exam. It's been a pleasure to get to introduce myself. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your LSAT journey. Take care.